and welcome to Abstract Essay, where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. One of his advocacy helping business owners' dreams come true. Running a small business is hard, but your marketing does not have to be. None other than Mr. Tom Malesic.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daniel.
Welcome, Mr. Tom on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Sure. My name is Tom Malesic. I'm the founder and president of Easy Solution, and we do a few things. We are great at digital marketing, so helping you grow your small business. We do that nationally, and then we do IT support for businesses within about an hour of our office. And then the newest thing that I've been doing is I am an EOS implementer, and I help other small businesses run a better business.
Run a better business. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Tom. Thank you. So let's talk about how to run a better business. Tell us, beyond the mission statement, how do you practically embed a company's core purpose into a daily decisions and actions
Yeah.
of every employee?
Yeah, those are great questions. And it takes a lot of time and focus to be able to get your company vision to pull the whole way through the entire company. And it really starts, Daniel, with the leadership team. So if we can get the leaders all on the same page, and what we do is we have a two-page business plan essentially where we start with really the foundations of core values. And when I started my company and people would talk about, oh, it's really important you need core values. To me, core values were just they were just sentences that people put on walls, and I had no idea how to get your whole team to really rally around what is most important. So think of core values as how do we want the employees in the business to behave, right? What are the characteristics of that team member? Because you've probably had a team member that you didn't really like working with, and it's probably because your core values didn't match. So one of our core values is easy to work with, happy to help. So that means team members don't say, yeah, Daniel, that's not my job, you go figure that out on yourself, or you know what, I'm just gonna cover my ass because I don't want to get in trouble. Like those kind of things that culturally doesn't work in our company because of the core values. So when you think of uh, people say, "Oh, well, the successful business is you got to get the right people sitting in the right seats." And the question is great. It's a wonderful philosophy, but how and who are the right people? So, right people are who matches your core values. Right seat is means you're really good at your job. So, we really start with that whole vision of the company, where the leaders want to go to, and then you've got to really overly communicate with your team as to how you get there.
Many leaders get caught in the tyranny of the urgent. What system or disciplines do you have recommend to ensure a team stay focused on the long-term strategic goals?
Yeah, so you can look at it in two ways depending on how you define long term. So I'd pick long term as what's our annual plan. So the next 12 months, so in January 1st, if that's when we're going to start the year, what are the goals that we need to align to? And then every quarter, the leadership team is going to meet to look at those goals and say, okay, where are we now? And what do we need to do to get there, right? To really break this up into quarterly chunks, and it might not be the leader's quarterly objective, but they might have a team member that contributes heavily towards that annual goal and to really manage that kind of quarterly cadence. There's some statistic that says most people can't focus on an objective or a goal for longer than 90 days. So when we think of that quarterly cadence, that's really where that's coming from, so that we can focus on it really hard for 90 days and then refocus and say, okay, so what needs to happen next, and is that Or we moved on to another thing, we accomplished our annual goal, or we still have a lot of progress to go on it.
So, Mr. Tom, in a world of rapid change, how do you build a strategic plan that both visionary and adaptable enough to pivot when necessary?
Yeah, there's so much, especially right now. It feels like there's a ton of change going on globally, and just with AI and technology so rapidly changing, that you need a way that you can still pivot. And I think that quarterly cadence really helps you with that. So you can still keep your long term plan, but not be so rooted that if something really goes wrong, that you don't have that ability to pivot. And the good news for small businesses is that that's a skill small businesses are really good at, right? We're not so big that we can't figure out how to readjust, whereas large organizations it's much harder to turn, that big cruise ship versus our little sailboat as a small business that kind of moves around.
Leadership and culture, Mr. Tom. What does effective leadership look like on a day-to-day basis, beyond a big speeches in all hands meetings?
Ask that last part of the question again, Daniel.
How or how does effective leadership look like on a day-to-day basis, beyond the big speeches and all hands meetings?
Yeah. So I think effective leadership on a day-to-day basis is really having that connection with the people who directly report to you. So on the leadership team, right, they report to me as the integrator of the organization. And then they have people that report to them. So the more connected you are to the team member, the better manager you are, essentially the better leader you become as well. So I
Yes,
think it's really
definitely.
about that communication and about having clear expectations and roles for every position in the company, so that that team member really knows what you expect and what winning looks like. Because if they don't know what it looks like to win in that role, they don't they don't have a way to win. So then they're frustrated, their manager's frustrated. So the better you can articulate that, the easier it becomes.
Yes. Definitely. And how do you move from a culture of a command and control to one of the empowerment and accountability? And what is the tangible business benefit of doing so?
Yeah, the benefit of doing so is that the employee is helping to solve problems. So, our leadership team, we only have the view that we sit at, but we don't have the view of what's that front level employee see or do. And the way we solve that is we have every employee sit in a meeting that we call a level 10 meeting. And what that means is Daniel probably sat in meetings that are just absolutely horrible and a complete waste of your time. Right. So if I said for that meeting, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best, what would you rate that meeting? So most businesses rate these their regular meetings that they make employees go to, maybe it's a 5 or less. So it's not a really good leveraged use of everybody's time. So what we do in these level 10 meetings is we try to get through all the boring reporting stuff first. And then we spend the majority of the meeting asking the employees to identify issues or opportunities that they see every single day and solve those problems. So when they're involved in identifying solving problems, they're more invested in it. It's not just the leader that comes down and says, "Okay, well, here's what you got to do." That the team member is really is they're the ones that are solving the problems, not just managers.
Mr. Tom, can you explain to us the phrase on your website, running small businesses hard? We make it easy.
Yeah. So within our culture and the services that we provide to our clients, we take away the stress and frustration within the business. So let's just an example of that is we build websites, and we build a lot of websites. So I'm probably going to build 60 to 70 websites a year. And most web developers, what they do is they say, well, hey, Daniel, what do you want on your website? And they kind of leave it up to you 100% to say, well, I want it to look exactly like this, and you need to provide every stitch of copy to me. Like, I'm not going to write any copy. And that's not how we do it. We take ownership from the start to the planning to the look and feel to every element that's on the site, to imagery, and to all the copy that's on there. So that's how we make building a website easy.
Yes. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
to the world, Mr. Tom. And tell us, decision making can be a bottleneck. How do you create a framework that allows for foster more decentralized decision making without creating chaos?
Yeah. So it goes back to that level 10 meeting as well. So it's not just one person's responsibility to decide on how we're going to solve a problem and make that decision. The more we push down within the organization, the people who are really doing the work can help make those decisions. That's really where you're going to solve a lot of those problems. And also keep in mind that the more they understand the direction of the company and where the company is going, then they can jump in that flow and they can participate in decisions that would get us toward our end goal. So whether that's a revenue target, or one of the things we're measuring right now is Google reviews. So how can they help get us more Google reviews? And it's our annual goals, right? So they know where we're headed and they can help us get there. And that helps with all the decision making ability, that everything doesn't have to go back to the leader's desk.
What are the most common blind spots you see in otherwise talented leaders that hinder their business from being better, Mr. Tom?
In the small business world, I think one of the skills that is underdeveloped is really that sales and marketing uh, skill set. So frequently you will have business owners who are good at what the company does, which is generally how small businesses start, right? You're good at a specific skill set. So then you start to do that on your own and service customers. And it's all the other skills that are non-operational skills that I think get kind of left by the wayside. And when you look at that business growth trajectory, if you don't have that sales and marketing piece figured out, then it's much harder to get to that business growth.
Business growth for sure. And where should a business leader start if they want to identify and eliminate the operational friction that wastes time, drains morale, and frustrates customers?
Mm. So there's a lot of points in that question. I would start internally to say, what are we doing right now internally that we could be more efficient or effective at. Sometimes it's handling it between departments that creates friction. So I would I would look at whether it's billable time or however you're tracking the amount of time it takes to do things or communicate, and how many times do we make mistakes, and what how would we eliminate those mistakes or that rework or customer complaints, right? So I would start internally, and then I would move outside to say, okay, how do customers experience frustration with us, or really with our industry, right? So one of the things in our IT business is um, customers don't like when you can't solve their problems quickly, right? So common frustrations we just people have in general with dealing with IT companies is they don't call me back, they don't fix it right the first time, and I have to explain my problem over and over again because what happens, Daniel, is you call your IT support company and you call, and half the time you talk to either an answer machine or you talk to a receptionist. So if you talk to the receptionist, that person can't fix your problem. So you're just kind of wasting your time explaining what your problem is. Then they pass it on to an internal resource. And generally, you kind of get passed to what we're going to call help desk, right? It's an entry level employee who doesn't really have a high skill set. So now you explain your problem to that person, and then that person can't really fix it, and they might spend an hour trying to fix your problem. Maybe they kept you on the phone that whole time. And then they're going to escalate it to maybe a number two tech who's going to Google it because they can't figure it out easy enough. And then it goes to a level three tech. So that's kind of the friction points. And what we've done in our business is I don't have level one and level two techs or engineers. You get to somebody right away who can solve the problem. And I never make you talk to a receptionist because why do you want to explain your problem to a receptionist? So you go right to the person who can fix your problem the first time. So that's an example of how do we take friction and frustration out of the whole process. And so within your business, you have to figure out what upsets the customer or what upsets an internal team member, and figure out how to reduce that friction from start to finish. And sometimes it's like the blinding flash of the obvious, and sometimes it takes years to really dig down and figure out what process do we have that just doesn't work, or maybe it worked before when we were smaller, but now that we have more team members and more people touch it, now it's not working anymore. How do you fix that? But I would take that challenge to your level 10 meeting and have the team help figure out what are those frustration points.
What are those frustration and remove it, solve it to have a better business? And Mr. Tom, how can a business use customer complaints or negative feedback as a systematic engine for improvement rather than just a problem to be solved?
Yeah, that's a good one. There's a hard, I think, as a general rule, um, businesses have a hard time handling complaints because in many cases it feels like maybe the customer's having a personal attack on you, right? No one wants to admit that their business isn't perfect, even though we know none of us are perfect. So sometimes there's this denial that happens at the beginning of, well, it's just Daniel. He's just a complainer. That's just how he is. We don't really have a problem. It's just him. And what we want to do is look at it and say, well, what if that may be true? Maybe it is Daniel. Maybe he's a difficult customer. We're never going to make him happy. But what if that's not the case? And what could we do in the future to resolve that? I think part of it is just being really inquisitive and understanding. Most of the time, that customer wants to be heard. And sometimes it's not even about maybe you already solved the problem, but they want that empathetic ear to say, "I'm so sorry that happened to you, and here's what we've done to resolve this moving forward."
Yes, sympathetic for sure. How does a truly effective meeting look like in a better business? And what a common meeting practice should every company abolish immediately?
Yeah, I would get rid of all meetings that are a waste of time. So if there's no agenda to the meeting, if there's no clear purpose and you're just having a meeting to have a meeting, like let's get rid of those right away. The other thing you do is just ask your team, like what meetings do we have you in that aren't a good use of your time? They'll tell you what meetings they don't want to go to anymore. And then ask that follow-up question, well, why isn't that meeting valuable? And is there a way that we could make that more valuable to you? Or it does it just not matter, right? So let's get rid of meetings for the sake of just meetings. The other thing I find is that so many meetings are just reporting meetings. So they spend so much of their time doing things to provide information, whereas some of that just could have been an email or a Teams chat or something that would have been just a quick thing. Or maybe you shoot a 2-minute video to let everybody know something instead of taking up 20 minutes of somebody's life to explain something that could have been a lot quicker. So I really believe that meetings should have a clear purpose, and the purpose of the meeting really should be about solving problems or having some level of discussion to move something forward, and not just straight reporting.
Yes, solving problem to make the business more thriving. How do you create an environment where constructive conflict about ideas is encouraged, way or while personal conflict is quickly addressed?
Yeah, it's that level 10 meeting again, right? We're gonna give them a platform that they're secure in, that every single week they can put their topics on the list and solve those problems. And that's really the crux of it. Once you go from a culture where it's the manager's job to identify and solve problems, and you make it the team member's job to identify and solve problems, um, that's when culture switches. And I'm not going to tell you that happens overnight, because it doesn't. If you're used to the manager solves all the problems, it will take time for every team member to feel okay with putting something on the list to have a discussion about, or say, look, this isn't working for me and here's why. um, we also would encourage, team members to come up with, well, how do they want to solve that? But even if they don't know how they want to solve it, we want them at least to bring it to the table for other people to chime in and try to figure out how to fix that.
Mr. Tom, what is the most common strategic mistake you see businesses make when they attempt to scale too quickly?
A strategic mistake. Well, I don't know that there's a common one. When you scale, cash flow always becomes a concern, right? So if you're hiring more
Yes.
and more team members, or you have to buy more product, whatever the relationship to top line revenue, uh, be cautious of, what are we doing to bottom line revenue, right? Do we get to keep any profit? So, and then it could also be, well, are you venture capital backed, which is a whole other conversation. So most of our customers, they're small business owners, they're self-funded. Maybe they have loans through financial institutions to have that growth. Um, but if you're not profitable, you might as well just go get a job and work for somebody else, because you're going to work, what, 60, 80 hours a week to not make any money. And that becomes an unsustainable thing for an entrepreneur over the long run. So um, I would say, one of the things I would look at from a strategic standpoint is, within your strategy, are you also still maintaining cash flow?
Maintaining cash flow is very important, people. How can a business balance the need for consistent, reliable process and with the need for creative, innovative thinking?
I don't think those things are on opposite scales of anything. So I think creative thinking is a way of life behavior. So you you will always have some team members that live very heavily on the creative, what's next kind of thing, and I would call those people, if you're in the car, that's your gas pedal, right? Those are the people that are looking at, what do we do about this, and they're excited to solve problems. And then you have, on the other side, you have people that hit the brake all the time, right? This is the people that poke holes in things and say, that's not going to work because. So what I found is that some people sort for what is the same, and some people sort for what's different. So in every business, you need the gas pedal and you need the brake, right? I tend to live more on the gas pedal. But if if things get chaotic, then I know I have to hit the brake. So I'm always looking for people to give me feedback as a leader, that is the hole poker. And I have a great hole poker on my leadership team, and he will always tell me what is the thing that I'm not thinking of, because I like to keep my rose colored glasses on a lot of the time, which helps drive the business forward. But he's the guy that's going to say, I don't know about that, Tom. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Right. So that we make sure that we don't just drive off a cliff.
Mr. Tom, tell us if or if you could only give one piece of advice to a leader who wants to build a truly better business, what would it be?
I would say read the book Traction by Gino Wickman. So it is the best how-to manual of how to run a business. So there isn't one thing that makes you a better business owner or makes you run a better business. There's a system that helps you run a better business. So I'd read the book Traction and implement all those tools. And then if you get stuck trying to do that on your own, go to EOS Worldwide and find an EOS implementer near you, or virtually if you have a more virtual team, and get help, because it's not an easy thing to run a successful business. So sometimes you just need to reach out for help.
Yes, people, if you need help, please do ask for help. So, Mr. Tom, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in its fourth season, as well as my love letters, movie 101 review, and music 101, and my baby podcast law 101, mental health 101, and Bible verses 101, and science 101, and sex 101 in its second season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Mr. Tom, running a business is demanding. What personal habits or routines are non negotiable for you to maintain the clarity and energy needed to lead effectively?
I'm going to pick our core value of lifetime learner. So the world moves quick, and the more you can learn and grow and not feel like you know everything there is to know, um, that's really the regular habit that I have. Just being inquisitive and looking to the future as to what else can I learn, what can I improve, whether it's about myself or about the company or management or leadership. All those things, I think, really help you become a great leader.
A great leader indeed, Mr. Tom. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to learn more about us, go to easysolution.com. It's the letter E, the letter Z, solution. There's no S on the end of that, easysolution.com. And from there, you can get to our marketing agency, our computer company, and learn more about EOS as well. So I invite you to follow us, and we've got a great newsletter, and we're happy to help educate you in any way we can.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Tom Malesic, because if you support him, for sure more and more empowering business will rise. So, Mr. Tom, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
Motica people, see you soon.